Welcome to RootsDiscovery.com. I'm your host, Mick. Today we look at the case of the Boyle family of Bathurst, Gloucester, New Brunswick. Today's goal will be to locate the Irish origins for siblings Bridget, John, Walter, Robert, Margaret, Edward, and William Boyle, who all settled in Bathurst sometime in the 1820s. What I wanted to do was get an idea of when these people were born. I could not find Bridget Boyle Egan in the first available census, which was the 1861 census of New Brunswick. I did find John Boyle was born around 1800, Walter Boyle was born around 1801, Edward Boyle was born around 1818, and William Boyle was born around 1825. So we have a huge gap from the birth of John to the supposed youngest brother, William, which was around 1825. Because of the fact there are too many baptisms involved, I've consolidated everything onto an Excel spreadsheet. The first evidence we find for the Boyle family in Bathurst, which was St. Famille, was the family of Francis Egan and his wife, Bridget Boyle. Now, no marriage record was found in any part of Canada for Francis Egan and his wife, Bridget Boyle, which might be an indication that they married in Ireland. The next family I located was John Boyle and his wife, Jane Campbell. For whatever reason, the French priests would write Jane as Genevieve. So I'm wondering then if the Genevieve that was baptized in the previous family, which was Francis Egan and his wife, Bridget Boyle, whether or not she was a Jane as well, and that the translation into French might have been Genevieve. So here we have John Boyle and his wife, Jane Campbell. Of significance here is the fact that they had their first child that we know about, which was Jane, baptized in Nelson, which is way to the south of Bathurst. So you're wondering whether or not these two individuals married in Ireland and were following a sister, which was Bridget Boyle Egan, up in Bathurst. Another thing of significance is that we have a William Boyle sponsoring the first child, which was Jane, down in Nelson. So who is this William Boyle? It cannot be the one that was born around 1825. So who is this William Boyle? Is this the father of John, or is this a brother? So what we have is that Jane, the daughter of John Boyle and his wife, Jane Campbell, was baptized down in Nelson, which was probably just a stop along the way for when they were going to be going to their ultimate goal of Bathurst to meet up with John's sister, Bridget Boyle Egan. Let's have a look at where John Boyle and Francis Egan lived. Well, Francis Egan, a tailor by trade, lived just to the east, represented by the black arrow, which is Lot 3. John Boyle had a large farm. He was a farmer by trade, and he had 257 acres, which was Lot B, represented by the blue arrow. I'm also including an orange arrow at the bottom to show that there was a Richard Boyle, who was a shoemaker by trade, living there as well, but I was not able to establish whether or not he is a relative to this Boyle clan that settled in Bathurst. Here we have the family of Walter Boyle and his wife Elizabeth Gallagher. What I'm noticing is that there is a William Boyle sponsoring 2 times. Or is this not the case? Is this simply a William Boyle, the one born in 1825, sponsoring one of these children, and the mystery William Boyle, once again, sponsoring into the family? This is the family of Angus McEachran and his wife, Margaret Boyle. They marry in 1839 at St. Famille. One thing that was discovered is this Margaret Boyle was born loosely around 1813. So she would have been born in between the time of Walter and Edward. And once again, we see a William Boyle, and this time it is most likely going to be the one born around 1825, as we see the godmother is Honora Welton, his wife. This is a family of Edward Boyle and his wife Mary Knight. Nothing really of significance here other than we do have several times where Boyles are acting as sponsors. This is the family of Hugh Boyle and Mary Rogers. It would appear that Hugh Boyle dies and then his wife remarries to a Malcolm Dempsey. The one thing about Hugh Boyle is that I have no indication as to when he was born. Here we have the family of William Boyle and Nora Welton. This William Boyle was born around 1825. So if he came over in 1826 when John Boyle and his wife Jane Campbell had come to New Brunswick, he would have been a child, an infant in fact. Is it possible that this William Boyle is not a brother to John, but in fact their first son? We also have the William Boyle, the other one, the mystery William Boyle, witnessing the marriage for William Boyle and his wife Honora Welton. Could this be the grandfather, or is this just an uncle that was unmarried? Before we move forward, I would like to point out two facts. It would appear the first couple to settle in Bathurst was Francis Egan and his wife Bridget Boyle, who are very likely to have been married in Ireland. A few years later, John Boyle and his wife Jane Campbell are to the south of Bathurst about 70 miles in a town called Nelson. There they have a child, Jane, baptized in 1826. They later rejoined Sister Bridget Boyle Egan up in Bathurst. Having scoured through the records of St. Famille, I could find no records indicating where the Boyle family came from in Ireland. I also checked Ireland's church baptisms and marriages, and I could not locate the two families in question, which was Francis Egan and his wife Bridget Boyle, nor could I find John Boyle and his wife Jane Campbell. So what do we do now? Well, the Egan family was a large family that had settled in Bathurst. Maybe one of the other siblings to Francis Egan might have indicated where he came from in Ireland. Now, the significance there is that if Francis Egan had married Bridget Boyle in Ireland, then they are likely from the same place as this Boyle family. The same can be said for the Campbells. However, I do not see any indications of any other Campbells at St. Famille that are related to Jane Campbell Boyle. This marriage took place on the 8th of June, 1829 at St. Famille. This involved a John Sullivan of County Cork and his wife Bridget Egan, who is stated to have come from a place called Connaughton. Okay, here we have another sibling named John Egan. He married on the 3rd of July, 1829, a woman named Mary Maroney. Once again, we are given an indication that he came from a place called Connaughton, Ireland. What we see here is that the French priest was doing his best to figure out how to spell Egan. And what we have then is that Dominic Egan, on the 22nd of September, 1829, marries Johanna Higson. What is very important about this record is that not only does Dominic provide the parish where he came from in Ireland, but he also provides the county. So what you end up with for the origins of the Egan family is the parish of Emlafad, County Sligo. What we're looking at here are two different records recorded on the same day at St. Famille in Bathurst. The first was the baptism for James Boyle, son of John Boyle and his mother Jane Campbell. On that same day, his mother, Jane Campbell, had converted to Catholicism. When we look at the parents' names for Jane Campbell, what are listed are William Campbell and his wife, Mary Crosswell. So where is the name Crosswell found in Ireland? The surname of Crosswell is not at all common to Ireland. I located this surname on the border of County Sligo within the county of Leitrim in the parish of Killanumary. So a crucial piece of information came from the Egan family themselves. They stated they came from two different places in County Sligo. The first was a place called Connaughton Road. That is actually on the northern part of this map here. But their actual parish was Emlafad, which is to the south. There were plenty of Campbells within this area of County Sligo, but it was the mother's maiden name, which was Jane Campbell's mother's maiden name, which was Crosswell, where I only found them on the border of County Sligo and County Leitrim, in and around the town of Drumurry, where I did locate a William Crosswell. So a picture emerges here that these three different families, the Egans, Boyles, and Campbells, came from this general area of County Sligo, which was on the border of County Leitrim. This is a parish map showing the general area of where I believe the Boyle family came from. If we look just to the south in Emlafad, that is where the Egan family came from. Most likely in the parish of Killanumary, which is two parishes to the east, this is probably where the Crosswell family came from, and that would have been the mother of Jane Campbell. This is a very uncommon surname found in Ireland. So when we take a step back and look at this parish map in Ireland, we are probably looking at where the Boyle family came from in Ireland. If you would like help in finding your Irish roots, visit me at rootsdiscovery.com. My email is rootsdiscoverycontact@gmail.com. This has been your host, Mick, and I just cracked the case.